Math 83, Unit 2, Lesson 3. We're going to graph linear equations. And in number 1, we're going to find missing values from the table and then plot the points to graph the line. So first, we're going to substitute 0 in place of x. So we're going to take this equation and we're going to plug 0 in place of x right here. Plus 3y is equal to 6. 2 times 0 is 0. So we just get 3y is equal to 6. Divide both sides by 3, and y is going to equal 2. So when x is 0, y is 2. Now we're going to do the same thing with x equaling negative 3. We're going to plug that in right here, and we're going to get 2 times negative 3 plus 3y is equal to 6. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Then to solve, we're going to add 6 to both sides. And we get 3y is equal to 12. Divide both sides by 3, and then y is going to equal 4. Next, we're going to substitute negative 2 in place of y and solve for x. So we have 2x plus 3, substituting negative 2 in for y, that's going to equal 6. So that's 2x, and then 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Then we're going to add 6 to both sides. And we get 2x is equal to 12, and then divide both sides by 2, so x is equal to 6. So when y is negative 2, x is 6. Now we're going to substitute 0 in place of y, and we're going to get 2x plus 3, plugging in 0 for y, is equal to 6. Well, 3 times 0 is just 0, so this is gone. And then divide both sides by 2, and then x is equal to 3. So now we're ready to go ahead and plot all of these points. 0, 2 is on the y-axis. Negative 3, 4 means to the left 3, up 4. 6, negative 2, and then 3, 0. And now go ahead and connect your points and draw your line in. Now that I've drawn the line in, we've graphed it using the points from the table. We're going to point out two very important points from the table and on the graph. 0, 2 is right here. This is my y-axis. This is called my y-intercept. Wherever the line crosses the y-axis is called your y-intercept, and x is always 0 at the y-intercept. This point 3, 0 right here is called my x-intercept. That's where it crosses the x-axis. That is where y is 0. Now in number 2, we're going to find missing values in this table, plot the points, and graph the line. So y equals 3x, we're going to substitute negative 2 in place of x, and 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Then I'm going to substitute negative 1 in place of x, so 3 times negative 1 is going to be negative 3. Now we'll substitute 0 in place of x, so 3 times 0 is 0. Now we're going to substitute 1 in place of x, so y is equal to 3, plugging in a 1, so 3 times 1 is 3. And then last we'll plug in a 2, so y is equal to 3 times 2, and 3 times 2 is 6. Now we'll go ahead and plot all these points. Negative 2, negative 6 is here. Negative 1, negative 3, 0, 0, 1, 3, and 2, 6. Go ahead and use a straight edge to connect the points. So now that we've connected the points and drawn the line in, we want to find the slope and the y-intercept. So to find the slope, again, the slope is always your rise over your run. We're going to start with this bottom point, and we're going to go up 3 and to the right 1 to get to the next point, and it's going to continue with that pattern from one point to the next. Up 3 over 1, up 3 to the right 1, up 3 to the right 1. So 3 over 1 is just 3, so the slope of our line is 3. And the y-intercept is where this line crosses the y-axis. The y-axis is right here. Here's the point where it crosses. It's always where x is 0. So our y-intercept is 0, 0. In number 3, we're going to choose values for x this time ourselves, and then complete the table, and then plot those points to graph the line. This time we're not given any values for x, so we're going to have to come up with them on our own. And I like to choose small values, ones that are right here near the center of the graph. So good ones to choose would just be -1, 0, 1, and 2. I can just choose any values I want for x, and then go ahead and substitute them into the equation to find y. So we're going to find y equals -2. Plug in -1, then add 3. -2 times -1 is 2, plus 3 is 5. So we have the point -1, 5. I'll go ahead and graph it now as I'm finding the values. So -1, 5 would be right here. Now I'll plug in 0. So y equals -2 times 0 plus 3. -2 times 0 is 0, and 0 plus 3 is 3. So now I'm going to plot the point 0, 3. I'll go plug in 1, and we have y equals -2 times 1 plus 3. -2 times 1 is -2. And then -2 plus 3 is 1. So we have the point 1, 1. We're going to go ahead and find the value of y when x is 2. So we have y equals -2 times 2 plus 3. -2 times 2 is -4, and -4 plus 3 is -1. So I go over to 2 and down to 1. So there are my 4 points from the table, and I'm going to go ahead and connect them. So now we need to find the slope of this line. I can see that this line goes down left to right, so I know my slope is going to be negative. And if I start with this point and I come down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1, I'm going to each time go down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1. I'm going to have a slope of -2. The y-intercept is always where it crosses the y-axis, which is right here. It's always where x is 0, and 0, 3 is our y-intercept. Now something else to notice in our equation is that those two values of -2 and 3 appear also in the equation. If I take this y equals -2x plus 3, I can see that my slope of -2 is right here, and my y-intercept of 3 is right here. Go ahead and do number 4 on your own. Choose values, the same ones that we did up in number 3. Choose values for x. We can just choose -1, 0, 1, and 2. Plug them in for x and find the values for y, and then plot the points. Pause the video and come back and check your answer. So here's the answer for number 4. When we substitute in -1 for x, we get -5. Then we substitute in 0, we get -1. Substitute in 1, we get 3. Substitute 2, and we get 7. Plot those points, connect them, and we have the graph of our line. Now from here we can go ahead and find the slope. I have to go up 4 and to the right 1, up 4 to the right 1, up 4 to the right 1, each time to go from one point to the next. So our slope is going to equal 4 over 1, which is just 4. Our y-intercept is always where the line crosses the y-axis. Here's our y-axis. So right here is our y-intercept. It's always where x is 0 and y is -1 at that place. So our y-intercept is 0, -1. Now we can go back and find those values in our equation. Notice how our slope of 4 is looking at us right here, right in front of the x is a 4, and our y-intercept here, -1. So the number in front of x is always going to be our slope, and then afterwards our constant is going to be our y-intercept. Now that's going to be true every time our equation has this form of y equals mx plus b. Now in number 5, we want to complete the table and then plot the points. And we have a fraction here in front of x. So we picked values here in our table that are multiples of 2 of this denominator. So we're going to plug in y is equal to 1/2, and then substitute a -4 in there, -4. Well, half of -4 is -2, and -2 minus 4 is -6. We can substitute a -2 in place of x. Half of -2 is -1, minus 4 is going to be -5. Substitute 0 in, and we get y equals 1/2 times 0 minus 4, and half of 0 is 0, minus 4 is -4. We're going to substitute 2, so 1/2 times 2 minus 4, half of 2 is 1, and then 1 minus 4 is -3. And then our last one, we're going to plug in 4 in place of x, so 1/2 of 4 minus 4, half of 4 is 2, and 2 minus 4 is -2. Go ahead and plot those points and connect them. So here we've connected the points and drawn in our line. So now we have graphed our line using the table. Now to find the slope, we can go from this bottom point, we had to go up 1, and then to the right 2, and then up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2, and it continues with that pattern going from one point to the next. So our slope is 1/2. Our y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, which is right here. Here's our y-axis. And it always has 0 for x. And then we can see in the table here, as well as the graph, that it's the point 0, -4. Notice again that those values appear here in this equation. M being the slope is right there. And then our y-intercept here we call b. That's our y-intercept is also in the equation. Now I'd like you to do number 6 on your own. I'll help you pick some values here for x. Whenever I see a denominator that's a fraction here of 3, I want to pick multiples of the denominator. And I'll pick -6, -3, 0, 3, and 6 as my x values. Go ahead and substitute those in place of x and find y, and then plot your points to graph your line. So here we have found our values for y and plotted the points and connected them, and now we're going to find the slope of the line. So from this left point we had to come down 1 and to the right 3. Down 1 makes it a -1 for the rise, to the right 3, so -1/3, and each time you go down 1 to the right 3, down 1 to the right 3, each time to get to the next point. So our slope is going to be -1/3. Our y-intercept, again, always where it crosses the y-axis. X is always 0 there, and our value for y is 1. So we have the point 0, 1 right here, and we can see it also in the table. And we can find those values right here in the equation as well. The 1/3 here is my slope, and this 1 right here is my y-intercept, is called my b. So now, after looking at several of those graphs and equations, we can see that if the equation is in the form y equals mx plus b, where y is alone on the left, the number that's in front of x will be my slope, and this constant b is going to be my y-intercept. and we'll be able to pull that right out of the equation. In number 7, we want to go ahead and look at this equation and get y alone before we fill out our table. So we have y minus 3x is equal to 5. To get y alone, I have to move this minus 3x to the other side. So I'm going to add 3x to both sides, and I'm going to get y is equal to, and I'm going to put this term of 3x in front of the 5. And now this looks the same as this. From here, I could pull right out, if I wanted to, a slope, which is the number right in front of x, is 3. And my y-intercept, which is this number here, b, is going to be 0, 5. So now we're going to go ahead and fill our table so that we can find some points to plot. I'm going to first start with the x values of -1 and 0 and see what happens with those. If I plug in -1 in place of x here, I have 3 times -1 plus 5. 3 times -1 is -3. Plus 5 is going to be 2. -1, 2 is right here. And then when we plug in 0, we're going to have y is equal to, and again we're using this equation right here, 3 times 0 plus 5. So 3 times 0 is 0, plus 5 is going to be 5. Now I'm already up here on the graph, so if I do any more positive values for x, if I do 1, I'm going to be off the graph. So I'm going to pick some different values here. I'm going to pick a -2 to see what's happening down here in the graph. I'm going to go ahead and plug in -2, and I'm going to get y is equal to 3 times -2 plus 5. 3 times -2 is -6, plus 5 is going to be -1. So we have a -2, -1 right here. And if I want, I can pick our last value here of -3. Y is going to equal 3 times -3 plus 5. 3 times -3 is -9, plus 5 is going to be a -4. So -3, -4 would be down here. Go ahead and connect your points with a straight edge. There, we've connected our points and we've graphed the line. In number 8, we want to find which 2 points that are either an A, B, C, or D are on this line. That means when I substitute them both in, it's going to be a true statement. So let's start out here with A. I'm going to do 2 times, I'll plug in 0 for x, and then I'm going to plug in -3 for y, and we want to know if this is a true statement. Well, 2 times 0 is 0, 7 times -3 is -21, and this does not equal 7, so we automatically know that this one could not be the answer. Now we can plug in these values to see if we get a true statement. 2 times 0 plus 7 times -1, we want to know if that equals -7. Well, 2 times 0 is 0, 7 times -1 is -7, and that does equal -7, so that first point is definitely on there. This one checks out. And let's go ahead and see if the second point's on there. So 2 times, we'll plug in 7 for x, and then we're going to plug in -3 for y. 2 times 7 is 14. 7 times -3 is -21, and 14 minus 21 is a -7. So this point is also on the line. So our answer here is B. We'll go ahead and plot those points, 0, -1, and 7, -3, and then we'll connect those with a straight edge. So now I've connected the points and graphed the line. In number 9, which of the following equations creates the pattern in the table? Well, earlier we talked about y equals mx plus b was the equation of a line, and that this b was my y-intercept, and the y-intercept is always 0, b. So if I look at these equations, I can see in A we have a -5, and looking at this point right here, it should be a -3, so we can eliminate that one. B has a minus 3, D has a minus 3, E has a plus 1, so we can eliminate that one as well. In C, I don't even have an X to substitute in, so we can eliminate that one as well. Now we're going to check the point 2, 1 and see if it works in the equation. We have the equation y equals x minus 3. We're checking the one that's in B. If I plug in a 2 in place of x, 2 minus 3 is going to be a negative 1, and our table says positive 1, so we know it can't be that one. And so we're going to hope that the answer is D. Y equals 2x minus 3. Plug in a 2 here, and 2 times 2 is 4, minus 3 is 1. So yes, this one checks out. Now let's go see if all the other ones work. If I put in a 4 in place of x, 2 times 4 is 8, minus 3 is 5, so this one checks out. Plug in a 6, 2 times 6 is 12, minus 3 is 9, so this one checks out. And then 2 times 8 is 16, minus 3 is 13, so all of those work. So our answer is D. In number 10, we need to figure out which one of these tables is going to graph the line, which one could create this graph. And we can look at some important points here that are graphed. This one right here is the point 3, 0. That's our x-intercept. And this point down here is our y-intercept, and that's 0, negative 3. So I'm looking for those important points in my table. Well, I can eliminate A because I have a negative 2, 0 right here, and I have a 3, 0 as my x-intercept, so it can't be that one. In B, I have 0, negative 2 as my y-intercept, and it's 0, negative 3, so we can eliminate that one. In D, we have 0, 0, so we can eliminate that one. And then in E, I can see both of those points, 0, negative 3, and 3, 0. So we think the answer is E. So let's just make sure by checking C. The point 2, 4, if I go to the right 2 and I go up 4, that would be way up here, and that's not on the graph. So therefore, I can eliminate that one. We'll double check that these other points are on the graph. If I go 1, negative 2, that would be right here, that's on the graph. And then 2, negative 1 is right here, and that's also on the graph. So our answer is E. In number 11, we want to know which one of these equations would graph the line. And we've looked at y equals mx plus b earlier, and m is my slope, and b is my y-intercept. So a good place to start would be to find the y-intercept. Looking at the graph, this is the point 0, negative 2. So we're looking for a b that's negative 2. Well, I see a b of negative 2 here. Here it's a plus 2, so that can be eliminated. In C it's a plus 2, so that's eliminated. And we have a minus 2 and a minus 2 in D and in E. So now let's check out the slope. This line is going up left to right, so it's going to have a positive slope. In A, there's a negative slope for M, so we can eliminate that one. And D and E both have a positive slope. So now let's figure out which one of those it could be. To go from this bottom point, we had to go up 2 and to the right 3 to get to the next point. So up 2 to the right 3. I can see that the slope of 2 over 3 is right here in this equation, so our answer is E. We're going to solve word problems involving linear equations and their graph. Number 12, a young couple decides to buy a new dishwasher for $760, agreeing to pay $400 down and $30 a month until the debt is paid off. We have to write an equation expressing the amount paid P in terms of the monthly payments M. So P equals, P in terms of M, $40 down, so that's $40 plus $30 a month. The expression for $30 a month would be 30 times the number of months, which is M. And here's our equation we can use. Now to fill in the table, we're going to see what happens after 1 month. So we're going to plug in a 1. 40 plus 30 times 1, well 30 times 1 is 30, and 40 plus 30 is 70. So after 1 month, they've paid off $70. For 2 months, we do 40 plus 30 times 2. 30 times 2 is 60, and 40 plus 60 is 100. Now we're going to put in 3, so we have 40 plus 30 times 3. That's 40 plus 90. That's going to be 130. So they've paid off $130 after 3 months. Now we're going to put in 4 for M. So we have 40 plus 30 times 4. 40 plus 120, and that's going to be 160. Now we want to go ahead and plot those points from the table onto the graph. So here's the graph after we plotted the points 170, 2 100, 3 130, and 4 160. And now our last question here is, when will the debt be paid off? Well, in our equation, I'm going to rewrite it here, we had P equals 40 plus 30M. And we know from the word problem that the dishwasher costs $760. So 760 is what we need to substitute in place of P. And now we're going to just solve for M. We do that by subtracting 40 from both sides. And we get 30M is going to equal 720. And then we can divide both sides by 30. And then 720 divided by 30 is 24. So it's going to take 24 months to pay off this dishwasher.